Battlefield 6 is in full swing, and you may be trying to get your hands on everything, but there might be a problem. A lot of things are tethered behind rank unlocks, assignment challenges that only unlock past a certain level, and things like that. So what do you do? Well, while this game is absolutely meant to be something that lasts longer than just a year compared to other shooters out there, XP yields can be tedious even to the most patient of players. So how can you best increase your XP yields? Today we're going to be taking a look at a guide to XP to hopefully help you out along the way and let your progress be a bit more efficient. Drop your thoughts below, drop a like if you enjoy the video, and do me a huge favor. We're chasing that lofty goal of 700,000 subscribers by perhaps the end of the year, so if you'd like to join the community, hit that subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Battlefield 6, among other FPS content. I'd love to have you in the community. And finally, check out my friends over at AdvancedGG for a 30% off discount with code ESPRESSO30 in celebration of our new partnership and the launch of Battlefield 6, but more on that a little later. For now though, let's get into it. So XP, inherently, you're getting it all of the time, but if you want to focus on a few specific conscious avenues of gaining it, which are the best ways to go about doing that? Well, first, before we can end up getting to that, we have to understand the big picture. What constitutes your XP values? Well, basically, it is everything in game. No, like seriously, everything in game. So some games do weird shenanigans with XP conversions where score sometimes doesn't exactly equal that XP. But so far with Battlefield 6, it seems like you're getting XP throughout a match from a number of different avenues. From preliminary testing, this appears to be pretty straightforward. Your score that you have on your scoreboard is 1-to-1 XP at the end of the match when translated. What you see on that scoreboard is what you get. But it's not the only amount you get. The Battlefield team really wants to incentivize staying in matches, it seems like, so match played bonuses are a thing, where staying until the end can grant you north of 10,000 XP for just seeing the match through. You could be as AFK as possible without getting kicked and still get upwards of that, it seems. Now, it seems like this will vary dependent on either progression of the match or perhaps a time yield of the match. I'm more so leaning towards a time yield, but for example, of the subset of matches that I've played, tested, and logged in terms of data, it appeared the longer full-time matches, like taking a team to the edge of winning on breakthrough, or taking a game down to the wire where both teams are fighting over their final tickets for conquest, being around 30 minutes, those matches would grant a 10,000 XP yield for a match played bonus, while comparatively, things like maybe say playing breakthrough, defense, you hold them to the second sector, that'll be 7,500 XP, and I've seen a few sectors stop around 5,000 XP as a match bonus. However, matches that were completed and shorter, like a full match of Rush, would yield 7,500 XP, indicating that it's likely not progression dependent on if you stay from beginning to end, but rather time for those bonuses. Additionally, there's a victory bonus that will be applied at the end of the match as well if your team ends up winning, which appears to be a similar fashion of granting upwards of 5,000 XP per victory. Seemingly, the longer matches being 5,000 XP, and then if you end up, say, holding them again in breakthrough, around 3,750 XP, and the first breakthrough sector I've seen stops at around 2,750 XP. So you have scaling increments for each of these bonuses, but next, after that, you'll end up getting accolade XP. So every single thing that pops up on your HUD when you do an item or assist a teammate or something like that, yeah, those all count towards XP and appear to be 1-to-1 with those XP values with the score that you see on screen. And then finally, your stable boosts, there's a little bit of extra stuff that's the icing on the cake. These are calculated XP modifiers that give you plus 5% XP if you own Battlefield 6. So right now, everybody that ends up playing the game, of course, has that bonus. This is likely something that's going to be taken more into account or is used for the BR free-to-play element coming later on in seemingly right now Season 1, but we don't have that confirmed at the moment. You get plus 5% XP if you play in a party of 2 and plus 10% if you play in a party of 3 or 4. And it would appear you also get another 5% bonus XP when playing in a party as a PlayStation Plus member with another PlayStation Plus member or more. That dealing with the slight licensing agreement that PlayStation has with Battlefield this year. Ultimately, those things can compound and amount to a plus 20% XP bonus if all factors are accounted for. So in a lot of my testing, playing solo and on PC, so not PlayStation, I was getting score XP, plus match bonus XP, plus victory bonuses, plus accolade XP, all of that times 5% to give me the extra XP granted as a modifier, as an icing on the cake there. All of these compound pretty nicely that when you look at the numbers, you can get quite a bit of XP in a match, but it's also sometimes these could be few and far in between. And It also depends on what kind of mode you're playing. So how do you max this out? Before we talk about modes, a quick heads up, we recently partnered with AdvancedGG, as I've been loving their products for a while now, but it's finally official. Advanced is that replacement for a cup of coffee in the morning to me, the afternoon pick-me-up, the fuel before any gaming and long content recording session. Right now, to celebrate the launch of our partnership and coincidentally, the launch of Battlefield 6, you can get 30% off your entire order until the 15th with code Espresso30. If you've never had their stuff before, they've got some incredible flavors like strawberry lemonade, rainbow sherbet. Those are two of my favorites, but there's zero chalky residue that comes along with it. They've got some really cool shakers, so I'd highly recommend checking them out if you'd like to fuel up for this launch and the other launches still to come later this fall. But for a limited time, again, you can get 30% off your entire order with code Espresso30 or the link in the description below. Check them out. But anyways, let's talk about the game modes themselves. What should you be playing? Thankfully, Battlefield's whole thing is play the objective, right? Like, that's one of the core tenets of the game and its ecosystem. But playing the objective is actually the best thing you can do. But for ranking it up, there are specific modes that do feel better and make that easier to do. Personally speaking, I really recommend Breakthrough for this. It's the most focused and funneled combat experience since you have 1 to 2 sectors at a time that you can either capture or hold the enemy off of and defend at a time. You're taking those larger scale combat experiences and bringing them down to a smaller scale, more condensed in nature, and not losing that chaos at all, just confining it in a smaller location. So with that in mind, the first thing you should do is always be on the objective, attacking or defending. This will grant you much more score with everything you do, whether kills, assists, squad mates spawning on top of you, you end up throwing out a supply bag or utilizing a gadget that helps you and your team out, you're gonna get score, and as we mentioned, it translates to XP for that. But why Breakthrough? How does Conquest, Rush, and the smaller modes pan out? Personally, I think that Breakthrough is the most advantageous in opportunity. Smaller modes will not yield as much in terms of the amount of action plus the length of matches, so you're not going to get as much XP there. Rush, unless elongated or you go crazy, won't yield as much as Conquest and Breakthrough, and Conquest is just a bit too spread out for everything in regards to action around the map. You can have things theoretically evenly split amongst all of the different flags. So if that's the case, you're going to have a lot slower of pace. But with Breakthrough, again, you're confining everything, all that match chaos into a smaller area, which then translates into more gunfights, into more opportunities to help your teammates that are immediately around you, and everything like that. So considering that, what I'd recommend is utilizing your gear and gadgets as much as you possibly can. Your assault, you have things like your deploy beacon, engineer, you have the repair tool if you have vehicles around you that need some heavy armor and help, but truth be told, those are okay. But I think support and recon are your best options for getting just the easiest XP and score available. Support, defib and revive your teammates like crazy. That is going to go absolutely nuts for score. Your supply bag, if you throw that down into a populated area, can go very well, where players will just naturally be able to pick up supplies from that, thus granting you assist score. Recon, the recon drone is insane in certain areas in Breakthrough. When there's only one sector to capture in those, and in areas that ends up having minimal cover for players to go in and out of, you're going to end up spotting so many different players that will then give you assists for spotting and when those players are taken out. So all of those locations that are funneled into one capture point is just insanely good for XP, for just passive XP. Like, you don't have to be a super skilled slayer or anything like that. You can just be flying your drone around and getting a ton of score. But that's in-game and the conscious things that you can do in regards to the gameplay experience. But other than that, of course, we do have a ton of challenges. You have dailies, weeklies, and assignment challenges that will all grant XP as you complete them. Right now, there's actually a decent bit here of them, though for your dailies, those refresh every day. Your weeklies, you have 1 week right now, and then 2 upcoming before Season 1. Those will seemingly refresh out and start anew whenever we have Season 1 that will give us a new sector of weekly challenges going forward, but those do not refresh once completed, so those are a bit more finite. However, taking advantage of all of these in any capacity will grant you those XP yields that can then be beneficial. So it might task you with doing 1 or 2 things that's not quite up your alley normally, but if you go out of your way and do that, it'll be a nice little XP yield for you. And finally, what about Portal? Where does that come into play? Genuine experiences will be treated just like how you'd find regular matches, but custom made ones with bots and everything, and slight deviations in map design, rule sets, and everything will give partial XP based upon time played. Now, I'm sure there will be a portal method for some time with XP grinding in the near future, but not entirely sure as of right now recording this if it's as beneficial as some would hope, unless you create an experience just for yourself that you can somehow funnel all these bots into one location and get that full XP progression. But for the time being, the best ways that I would say is to play Breakthrough, utilize your class items to help your team out as much as possible on the objectives, while also staying in the full matches, playing for the win, and trying to get as many accolades as possible. You do all that kind of stuff, it's going to compound into the best and most efficient way to end up getting XP for Battlefield 6 thus far. But for now, that's going to wrap it up. So let me know your thoughts down below. Is there anything in particular that kind of stood out to you as, oh, I didn't really realize that, or anything that is nice to know going into your XP progression? Let me know. But if you guys enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor, drop a like on it. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Battlefield 6 as we gear up for, seriously, still so much up on deck. I can't wait to share it all with you guys. And of course, more FPS content in the near future with multiple game launches still to come. I'd love to have you in the community. For now, though, thanks so much for watching. My name has been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care, and peace.